so we're just going to hop right in. Which is nice. I actually appreciate the fact that it doesn't take 20 minutes to get a tournament started these days, and instead today it was just 10 from the official start time.
Yeah. Must be me. Every tournament I've done commentary for has been just blazing along.
I wish I could say that was true. All right, sounds like our game has gotten started. So hello, everyone. Welcome to game number 1 in Group A of our casual FFA tournament. We've got Mr. Hexapus, Benign Kanto, and Evil Diablo Incorporated competing here in this particular round. And ncgamewizard / jalbertman / jalbert, I could just keep going for a while, is going to be providing us with some additional commentary.
ncgamewizard's fine if you want to keep doing these.
We'll stick to that. We'll stick to that for moving forward. So looking around this map, we do have scavengers, and I've noticed kind of a high carbon that I really want because it's got some aluminum nearby, and it looks like there are also some scientific locations. So what am I missing here? What else are you seeing around this map?
Well, glass is so cheap, it'd be crazy not to go
Scavenger HQ has been found.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
your upgrade resource, mind you, maybe not as a production right away.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. So we've got our players seem to agree so far. We've actually got 2 scavengers. Kanto going for some pretty weak carbon in the northwest. We'll see how that works out for him. Then a scientist of Mr. X. I really like that spot. Just a nice field of water and iron. But Hexapus has decided that he's going to go into the electronics route and lands as a robotic faction. So we'll see how that.
Electronics consuming colony, so that's going to be just a little bit more of a pain.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is that just sounds kind of difficult. I'm a little bit surprised
Scavenger HQ has been
that was the result. Although I think that we did not have expansive available from the initial 4.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I'd make scientist work on that spot right now. It involves a lot of shipping water.
Yeah, you'd still have to ship in the water. Maybe scientist is still for the better, just so you get those glass prices. But I can see the excuse for robotic.
The glass advantage as
a
these
robotics
players
HQ has been upgraded. A scavenger HQ
That's
has
fair.
been upgraded.
And that's another nice point for Hexapus, the idea that he's staying out of that market. Maybe glass will catch up to electronics, despite the electronics consumption at the colony. Everybody get into HQ2 pretty quick this time around.
So scientist thinking about power goes out of the decision to get into power. Now just figuring out what to do with the flames. I would be looking at the water, thinking maybe food, because that glass is as cheap as it's going to get for a little while at least.
Yeah, food looks good. Let's see, chemical refineries also looking quite strong at the moment if you just wanted a temporary market. But we are going to see just a farm and a geothermal vent. That's quite expensive, but power is also expensive, so maybe it'll pan out long term.
I have a claim available. If he wants to tank his steel a little bit more, which he is actively doing, that would be the way to get it. Get another farm up, maybe. Do something better.
Let's do something better. Yeah, I don't like the single farm. Obviously, as a scientist, you can kind of get away with it, but honestly, it would be basically... It's not all that much better than a water pump right now is kind of the sad thing about it.
A scavenger HQ
I really do want to see the pair. No surprise to me that Evil Diablo pushes up to HQ3. First, he did go into those lucrative chemical refineries, and we'll just keep an eye on him. I'd expect to see some wind turbines coming down pretty fast. And that's exactly what we're going to have. Nice moves from Evil Diablo. He's got his eye on where the markets actually are and what he can do with them. So he's looking to be in a good spot to move forward this game.
I also like him reusing those cliff tiles. Whenever you see resources on a cliff, you always want to think, maybe I stick a wind turbine on it. Maybe later it pays off because I just transition out of power, which is cheap, transition to something I need.
Exactly. Yeah, I really did enjoy his choice of location for wind turbines. Obviously, Kanto has a very strong wind turbines in that location that he's chosen, but you can see there's no resources under them. They're very far away from his HQ, so he doesn't even have that power set up yet. Meanwhile, Evil Diablo's power is almost online, and he waited until HQ3 to set it up. So that's just the big difference.
I am getting a lot of interference from your end on the mic.
Sold. The black market is open for business.
Decided I'd rather not make any power money this game, please.
Okay.
All right, I like that from
interesting
Hexapus
there on your end for a little bit there.
That sounds like Discord being Discord.
Yeah. I knew there were Discord bots, but this is ridiculous. Anyway.
Oh, man.
So,
in any case, Hexapus with a nice adrenaline boost on that geotherm. Always a nice way to use a geotherm when adrenaline boosts are available. It's like you got 2 geotherms and you only had to buy 1 goon squad.
let's see. Supposed to using those spies also. So just really using the black market to his advantage, Hexapus is.
Yeah, some nice moves at him. I'm still a bit concerned for him because, once again, he is a robotic faction, and that's not great that he's running this far behind on upgrades. I'm also not sure about having these steel mills offline. It gets rid of the power cost of the steel mills, but that partially just means he's going to tank power a little bit faster with this adrenaline boost. That also just means he's not making steel for this upgrade, and he's going to have to buy an awful lot of it when he finally does manage to push HQ 3.
He's getting very close, though. And he's got
He
it.
is. But still, the move up to 3 as Diablo's hitting 4. Diablo has so much money in the bank right now. He's still looking to be in a great spot. And it looks like nobody ever decided to compete with him in these chem refineries. And Kanto even helping out a little bit, making enough fuel to help keep that price down.
Anybody's even necessarily attacked it with any
A
black
scavenger
market.
HQ has been upgraded.
Yeah, not much, if at all. People just... Evil Diablo is going to run away with it with that initial scavenger location we pointed out right at the start of the game.
Yeah.
If people don't get a handle on him pretty fast here. I'm going to check our black market. So we have had a lot of bribing and claim going on, and I will give Kanto this. That is where he's excelling right now. Hexapus picked up the first one for 2. Evil Diablo's picked up 1 for 10. But Kanto has spent an average of just over $4,000 each on 3 claims.
Now, one big problem is most
really
of his
nice.
buildings aren't online right now.
That is an issue. I'll give you that. That's kind of problematic. And that came from the EMP on his water earlier. Let's see. Who is playing around with water? Nobody is playing around with water right now. It's just gone a little bit nuts. And so that's fine. That makes this mule more interesting. But I still think it leaves Kanto in a nice spot because he has so many water pumps online. Evil Diablo, similar situation. Rotated out of his turbines right into those water pumps.
I think what's going to end up happening is water's going to fall right off a cliff now that everybody's decided, oh, this is valuable. Let's just go crazy.
It's true. I was wondering if we were going to see an additional EMP on these water pumps, because that would be a nice thing from Hexapus, for example. He could try and EMP out the clump of water pumps in the middle of the map again and really get a lot of nice water money saved up for himself while keeping those life support prices high and giving a little bit of extra debt to all of our, life support using players.
Instead, we saw an EMP on some electrolysis reactors, which are getting a lot better as water collapses. But
as water dies, yeah. I don't know if that was really the location.
The black market is online.
Yeah, it was Kanto that used it though, so it's not too surprising. He wouldn't want to EMP out his own water, and once Hexapus's black market was up again, he did go ahead and decide to EMP the water pumps one more time.
It almost makes me wonder if going for the 3 lows and maybe using slant drilling, maybe they're a little bit closer, maybe something optimizations to just fix the problem so that you could attack, you could be aggressive, might be a little better as a scavenger. You're not really getting much work done if you're afraid to attack because you're going to smack yourself.
That's true. That is always something to think about. Is there's this advantage that you're less likely to be hit by the other scavenger, but certainly a downside that they're no longer really available for you to attack either. It's kind of difficult sometimes to judge in the early game which of those details is going to be more important long term.
And if I'm Hexapus, if I'm Mr. X, I get some money together, I'm thinking, hey, I can hit 2 birds with 1 stone with those big old EMPs.
It's true. And that is what's really dangerous is you've protected yourself against 1 player, but really opened up a big vulnerability from the other 2. Speaking of Mr. X, picked up slant drilling and teleportation so far, is headed for thinking machines, which looks like a nice pickup. Food already at 500 on the off-road market.
You can never start using this water patch. That slant drilling might be very valuable.
Yeah, he's got a couple of farms down. I mean, he's obviously avoided the high water prices by simply being a scientist and using those farms, so that's nice for him. But I am a bit concerned. These electronics factories were out here over on some carbon a while ago. not making a huge amount of money and still back at HQ4, not super, or back at HQ3 looking for 4. Not a super comfortable spot for him yet. He'll have some catching up to do in exchange for all these patents.
And going into a
Zultar.
lab of his own.
New land is available for auction.
Zultar,
Yep.
just a quick note. There's some audio issues with the stream. We can't actually hear you on the stream.
All right. Well, I'll look into that in just a moment here.
All right.
All right.
Let's try about right now.
Good luck.
Yep.
Sold.
Good news is audio on my end's been 90% clear.
See, that's why, that's why we have 2
Scientific
streams going,
HQ
so
has
this doesn't
been
turn into a
upgraded.
problem long term.
There you go.
Regardless, we've got Hexapus up at HQ4. He's getting an off-world down already. That's a particularly interesting decision to me. He's got the hologram online. Kind of defending that, but it's still strange. You don't typically see an HQ level 4 off-world. They're pretty good, but there's still plenty of prices on-world that look pretty strong. A little bit surprised he didn't choose to just go for the upgrade.
Must have been looking at that really low steel price and thinking, well, steel's kind of the only thing I can make a lot of. Might as well raise it up, put some money in it, and then get it back out to the market later.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of works out. The other thing that he could do, though, right now is genuinely just look at knocking other players out of the game if he wanted to. For example, Mr. X is looking extremely vulnerable right now. He does not have a substantial amount of cash on hand.
Oh, yeah.
He was down to like 10K a little while ago. Hexapus could have pretty easily bought up his own stock, then destroyed Hexapus. And that gets rid of the scary scientist that's already picked up 3 patents this game.
Mr. X is one of my favorite kind of players to pick up in free-for-all, is the scientist who stayed at level 3 for his patents, because he's got all these nice things, and he just doesn't have the buildings to use them, and if you just bought him up, you just gave that sucker a chance, oh, he'd make you so much money.
Yeah, he really, really would. Now, other players should be aware of this off-world at this point, because they would have seen Hexapus cash drop like a rock without him upgrading, and that pretty much only happens either when a player upgrades or when they complete the off-world market, but we don't see any spies down in Hexapus territory just yet from anybody else. So it's possible he's managed to sneak this one in, and no one knows just how far ahead of the curve Hexapus really is.
Speaking of sneaking in, I'd like to see some players working those. They've spent a lot of money on Goon Squads. I'm surprised they haven't spent a lot of money on
Well, I don't think that spotted the off-world, but it's incidentally going to get a nice hit in anyway, going after Hexapus' apparent chem refineries.
high-level play. If you don't put a Goon Squad on the off-world, if it doesn't get directly hit, they don't see there's a tile with a Goon Squad on
New
it.
building is available for auction.
Indirect hits would have revealed that.
Ooh, Kanto. That was a bit of a dangerous move. If Evil Diablo wants to hop in and help Hexapus out with taking Kanto down, that option is available to him. Only 1K in the bank. Kanto needs about 40 to defend himself completely right now.
Oh, that's not looking good with the way his buildings are laid out right now.
No, not at all. Electronics not making any money, not a whole lot of cash almost anywhere for Kanto. Thankfully, the carbon is pretty solid, but once again, he's been operating on low carbons this entire time. Not really great. And then the electrolysis. I don't know if that's going to be enough.
It's not great, but it's decent dome. 330.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. That's pretty solid. It's probably the second best tile on the map right now to Hexapus's off-world market.
Realistically,
See, he can get one.
He probably wants out of this patent lab and into an industry that's making him some money. I think it's probably a little bit late, but...
I mean, that could have just been an aluminum mine in the short term to try and hold on long enough. Hexapus does have the cash on hand. Kanto has 4 seconds to defend himself from this majority buy. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. And once again, a player knocked down.
Here's the question.
Their hubris.
Do the other players go after Hex right now? Because that's typically what will happen in a free-for-all situation where you've secured a player but not yourself, is everybody just says, hey, time to get some stock.
It's definitely an option. I'm trying to work out if they've got the cash for it. Well, definitely not anymore with Mr. X upgrading to 5. There might have been an option if both Evil Diablo and Mr. X could have trusted each other. Then they could have sold out of their own stock and taken down Hexapus, and then it would be split in a pretty even game at that point, right? They'd each own like half of Hexapus, half of Kanto, if it plays out reasonably.
Right.
but you have to trust the other players, and that can sometimes be a bit of a difficult thing to do. Evil Diablo is going to get things started, but I don't see anything coming from this. Hexapus should be very comfortable just letting his off-world continue to launch, buy up his own stock, and be in an absolutely fantastic position with the high stock price. Still back at HQ4, but definitely with some very, very powerful territory already.
And those launches are becoming quite valuable at 39k.
Yeah, 661 a second for that. I mean, we just take that and we compare it to, I don't know, Mr. X's all of his farms, and they start adding up. So maybe it's okay to be behind a few claims when one of your claims is as strong as 4 of your opponents.
More to the point, he does own most of the
scavenger. The black market is open for business.
That's true. I mean, yeah, he does own 6 of the scavenger as well. That's basically an additional off-world for him, because it's making about as much money, just a little bit more money at this point than his own off-world market. So it's kind of like Hexapus is on 2 off-worlds already, and he still has an upgrade to 5 to go to continue increasing those profits.
So if you were Hex and you hit 5, what do you start looking at?
Your stock is being sold.
Electronics, chems, I suppose?
I mean, electronics are looking pretty solid. Let's see. Hexapus hasn't really even looked at a patent lab, so that's not really on the table for him. Carbon scrubbing is already gone. What does Hexapus have?
Silicon's going to be a pain no matter what. There's, I think, 1 low left to take, so he's definitely not going for glass.
Sold.
36k on that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're just looking at, hey, maybe I can get a second off-world market down if I go to 5, you know? That's an entirely reasonable thing to do. He's also gone ahead and purchased a little bit more into Kanto, which gives him, once again, kind of a stock price increase. It means he'll be making even more money off of his subsidiary long term.
Diablo catching on.
Let's see, and maybe you back this up with an optimization center to make sure that your launches stay strong. You could definitely simply throw down a ton of steel right now, and that's going to do you some good work long term. I hate this electronics factory. It has adjacency, and that's fine and all, but
not just
it's just so silly.
It's a hologram.
It's got a hologram too. It's like, I'm pretending to be a metal mine. It's, oh, that's great, I guess. Not that anybody cares either way. Well, regardless, Hexapus still looking to be in a very strong position. Cash is about even between all of our players, but significant stock price advantage to him. But it is possible that Evil Diablo and Mr. X can still team up on him and get a lot of work done long term.
If I was Hex, I would be thinking about the opportunity cost of just grabbing my 5 shares right now. Oh, there it goes.
Well, there you go. He's going to get started on that right away. Network virus coming down. That reveals the hologrammed electronics factory. So now everybody's just more confused about what's going on. I guess that works.
He can't even delete it. Everybody sees his shame.
And worth noting that the Kanto AI got hit by a circuit overload on his wind turbines, which meant he just started leaking money everywhere because power is so expensive right now, and subsidiary AI will always pay down their debt each tick as much as they possibly can. So that actually cut pretty heavily into Hexapus's profits for the time being.
Especially because Hex has some turbines of his own, but he is in so much debt he will not be making power money even if he gets those optimizations he's working on down.
Launch affirmative.
Yeah, but do you really care about power money?
Successful.
Go ahead and win the game. I mean, Mr. X has some cash, and I guess he's going to make use of it, but I don't see it getting a whole lot of work done at this point. Hexapus just did a great job getting so far ahead in this game by sneaking in the off-world market and getting that majority buy. Other players definitely should have gotten in on the Kanto purchase because it was quite clear that Hexapus had the money to get that done, and Kanto was nowhere near being able to defend himself after that upgrade to 5. You really want to get in on those and start getting some of that subsidiary income for yourself. Can't just leave it all for one player.
Yeah. Water market was really difficult this game. You can see players going back into massive amounts of water.
The black market is online.
Yeah, it was pretty difficult. That's another advantage, of course, of being robotic. Just the idea that was a little bit less punishing for you than most players. And Mr. X, I thought it was odd when he went for these like pair of electronics factories rather than continuing to expand into the water territory that he had nearby. I think if he had gone that route, things might have gone a bit better for him. Hexapus should just sell out of his stock and buy Diablo and then finish up this game very rapidly at this point.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to do. I mean, it's even better now that Evil Diablo's bought into some of his own stock, because once he gets that purchase done, he'll just get that share back.
Successful off-world
Although paying
shipment.
down debt,
Make room for the profits.
something you can do.
I mean, yeah, make it more of a pain for the person to finish you off. But we are kind of at that phase of the game where one player has enough of a lead that now we're kind of just fighting over tiebreakers in these tournaments, which we use time it takes to win as a tiebreaker, so the other players can do as much as they can to slow Hexapus down. That will help them out later if they can pick out wins for themselves. But for the time being, Hexapus, 2 subsidiaries under his belt, off-world market online, most of his own stock owned already. Things are looking very, very bad for Mr. X.
As a subsidiary, also has an off-world going. So,
That's nice. It was nice of him to build that for Hexapus.
yeah.
I just want to throw that out there. It was just subsidiary didn't have to do it later on. Just get it done. Finish up the game a little bit faster. Why not?
I'm sure the subsidiary will build a second off-world.
I mean, Kanto's subsidiary hasn't built a single one yet. And that's probably just because silicon has been so difficult this game. So glass has been expensive, electronics has been expensive, and the subsidiary managed to figure out maybe that's just not the best option. Oh, there we go. And finally, just now started one. Oh, good, and it got rid of some of its carbon to get it done. The low silicon auction basically doesn't matter. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
We could just skip it.
Congratulations.
Because Hexapus can fly a quarry out there, and I think by the time any silicon actually got back home, the game would probably be over. Oh, that's a nice mutiny. So let's see. Once again, Thinking Machines not available for Hexapus, as Mr. X took that a lot earlier. And goodbye. Mutinies are up at 50k already, I want to point that out. So players have been doing a good job on the mutinies. We even see circuit overloads at 6, network viruses at 6. So these players have been doing a pretty good job using the black market this game compared to what we usually see.
I don't think we necessarily analyzed when Hex decided to go into that off-world was the fact that there really are only 2 black market items potentially for attacking off-world. Now, they're really good ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now that they've been made more expensive, it's just very difficult to look for ways to effectively hit your opponent.
Yeah, certainly is. Those are very, very expensive. It's hard to take down Hexapus with that. And also just the hologram was available.
Yeah.
So not as big a deal that network viruses were available, because first they have to find the off-world, and then if you just never bothered to goon it, then you never had to worry about the network virus being available as a goon popper. So that let Hexapus be a lot more aggressive with his money early on, and honestly clean up the game pretty quickly. Sol 8, 2140 on that one.
Yeah, well played for everybody. Well played.
Yeah, it's a nice, good job by Hexapus there. And as you say, well played by everybody, but Kanto, a little bit of a rash upgrade there to 5 is definitely what caused that game to start snowballing out of control in Hexapus' favor.
Yeah, and there's a brief, like, 10-second window after a player's made a buy where they just don't really have any money to defend themselves, and that's when everybody's just got to jump, and you got to jump on whoever made the buy.
Yeah, that is definitely when you want to see the counterattacks come down, but not so this time around. So Hexapus kind of cruises to an easy victory there. $452,000 off of his subsidiaries, by the way. That's basically what he used to finish off Mr. X at the end of the game.
And Hexapus pointing out he went into that off-world without having his stock defended. Yeah, that's $80,000 that he just said, nah, this could just go away. Yeah, I won't need it. I won't need it.
Yeah. And I mean, he was right. That was one of the weird things, is the game was even enough at that point. A lot of players had a lot of money. And so it's this weird situation where if one player has a lot of money, that can be an extremely dangerous thing to do, because then that player just picks you up. But when all of the players have a lot of money, if one of them starts going after you, there's a very, very good chance that one of the other players will then start going after them, and then the other player will start going after them. And everybody just gets freaked out and backs off and tries to keep investing in themselves. So it's a small difference, but it can be pretty important in situations like that one.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Wow. 25 black market uses from Hexapus that game.
Interesting to
If we
see that.
I mean, if we combine 2 of our other players, they still don't equal 25, right? So like Mr. X plus Evil Diablo is 22, and Hexapus wasn't even our scavenger that game.
Well, I think that's a very, very good thing to note. Use the black market on the people who are ahead of you. Always.
That's true. That's true. It can feel bad sometimes, right? Because you're like, do I really want to spend 10K on this EMP? Yes, you do. Fine, just do it. You know?
As long as you can find that your opponent's making more than, say, $20 on a building, it's time to think about attacking it. Don't let them make money. That's better.
Yeah.
They're going to use the money against you. All right.
And that was really just the strategy we saw out of Hexapus this game. I mean, some optimizations, but like no patents.
That was
just
what I was going to mention.
Force.
Is it's very rare in a free-for-all for the person who wins to have not even picked up one patent, because there's always one thing.
That's good, right?
Right.
Yeah.